Welcome everybody to Extreme Off-Road Silly Bills, and today we're dealing with the 2022 Extreme E number 44 X44. Now this has 939 horsepower, 1,310 pounds-feet of torque from its mix of batteries and electric motors. The car itself now weighs 3,029 pounds. Already came with all-wheel drive, off-road tyres and off-road suspension, although now the off-road tyres are wider. And yeah, it can now do 0 to 60 in 3.632 seconds, 0 to 100 in 5.975 seconds, and go to a top speed of 180 miles an hour. So yeah, the speed is pretty good. I know the stat is low there, but the 180 mile an hour comes from changing the gearing on the single gear gearbox for the electric motors, so it's actually a lot higher than that. And acceleration, launch, braking and off-road capability are all solid. The only real letdown is the handling, which, yeah, it's quite a weighty vehicle with all those batteries and motors in it, so that's why its handling isn't quite as good as some cars, but we have seen far worse handling stat from other cars that have done really rather well, so yeah, I'm hopeful that this will do pretty damn well as well. So yeah, and that's because, you know, it's got all of that off-road capability, it's all inbuilt into the car, it's nothing that I've had to add. Like I said, I've only really widened the tyres in terms of the off-road capability, so yeah. But obviously it's dealing with a lot more power than it had originally, about 400 horsepower more, and about 600 pounds-feet of torque more as well. And it's going to be going a lot faster than it could originally as well, as it only managed about 131 stock, so yeah. Still asking some extra aspects out of this, but obviously it's meant for dealing with these kind of rough conditions. So yeah, I am hopeful that despite that handling stat, despite the fact that the acceleration isn't quite as fast as some cars that we've had on this series, that it will ultimately work out to make a fast car. And obviously it's doing it in complete silence, which is surprising to be honest. I mean, even some lower horsepower electric cars do make some noise, so I suppose this is as quiet as it is. Just getting along fine so far, at least. Obviously the good thing about this car is the fact that that torque is always there, being an electric car. There's no delay or anything like that, it's just instantaneously there. Coming out of corners, or, you know, needing to suddenly accelerate or anything like that is going to be pretty rapid. Now, they've put several different versions of this car on this game. None of them are different mechanically or anything like that, they're just different in terms of the name that they have and the livery that they're sporting, but yeah, which I'm not typically a fan of, and I'm not a fan of it in this regard, but you know, at least it shows that they are putting, you know, new kinds of forms of motorsport on these Forza games. Never had these vehicles before, and even though electric cars are still the vast minority on these games, it is nice to see that electric cars are continuing to get more and more representation. We've had more electric cars on this game than we've ever had before. And obviously we don't have the big name of Tesla on this game, but you know, we've got other manufacturers that are usually done the combustion engines that are doing their electric versions, like Lotus and Porsche, which is really nice to see. Oh dear, I'm going to rewind that because that fence was screwing us over. But yeah, I would really like to see some more electric cars in this game, to be honest. I'd like to see the Honda E, which is a car I absolutely adore in terms of the way it looks, inside and outside. And then you've got the Kia vehicles, you've got the Volkswagen ID3, hell, I'd even like the Skoda Enyaq, to be honest, considering that's a really rather different approach to doing an electric car, because it's not going for speed or acceleration or anything like that, it's just about being as practical as possible and using the fact it's an electric car to make it as practical as possible. Yeah, this car's doing well, it's getting to a decent rates of speed at times. Not struggling with that extra power and torque. It seems to have been mostly trouble-free, which, as you can see, is looking like it's going to give us a fast time. One of the fastest times that we've ever had on this series, despite being relatively unremarkable. So yeah, 3 minutes 16.347 means that this is the second fastest car that we've had on this series, and the fastest electric vehicle that we've had on this series, beating other electric vehicles like the Ford Mustang Mach-E 1400 and the likes of, what other ones have we had? I'm actually thinking that's the only one that we've had on so far. I seem to can't remember them. But yeah, and obviously the Porsche Taycan Turbo S and the Neo EP9 is quicker than both of those. So yeah, best of the four, which is good, but not only best of the four of those vehicles, but also the best of every other vehicle bar the Hot Wheels 2 Jets, which is still at the top of the leaderboard by more than 4 seconds ahead of this. But still, despite being quite unremarkable and not really that difficult to drive, definitely a fast car, even though we didn't really feel it at that times. But then again, it's hard to gauge how fast an electric car is because you've got very little noise from the motors, and the sense of speed is a little bit different when it comes to an electric car. So yeah, even though we're second fastest, I didn't feel it, but at the end of the day, the time does not lie. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.